Okay. So it was actually a fortuitous time to begin the recording too, because what I was going to mention is so um, one of the things that has occurred for Willow in their life is they had a number of years where they had a variety of symbols show up to them that they took the opportunity to write down. And um, I don't know the entirety of the story. I know a little bit of the story, but there's been ideas of light language lately, and light codes is kind of what this particular situation was for Willow, and they have lots of them. I've had the opportunity to look at some of them, and it's pretty interesting. There's definitely a connection that's had when you look at them, so they're pretty cool. So that journey and what they discovered in that will be what we will do at our next gathering. And so that will happen the next time around. Willow will talk about that experience, and how that came about, and what they did with it, and of course the effect it had on their life. Um, what we're thinking about for the third one, but this is kind of in flux possibly. It's just an idea that we have for our third Saturday is, and people call them various things. Um, they've been called a glitch in the matrix, just a shift in your reality, um, or there was a term that you had. What was the term you had?
Mandela effect.
The
That's the one
Mandela
pop culture
effect.
term that people
Yes,
recognize.
right. So the idea of can be a whole variety of things. You watch a movie and the movie is different than what you've seen the movie be before. You read a book and the book is different than what it was before. You walk into a shop and the people that you thought once worked there apparently have never worked there. It can be quite subtle, it can be quite large. Those types of things. So, what we would like that third Saturday to be about is bring those things with you to the gathering and let's all share those. Again, doesn't mean matter how big or small, um, they all do something. And when other people hear them, because we are so connected as a collective, when other people share those things, there's an opening and energy that happens with all of us because of our connection that we have. So that's what we were thinking about doing with the third one. But again, it could be in flux. It really kind of depends on what you guys have got going on, what you may want to share, and what your thought is about when you might want to share that, because we could put that pretty much any place. But it was just an idea that we had, and we thought it seemed like it was kind of fun. That, and I think that it'll kind of help to energetically tie us together too a little bit, which would be kind of nice too. If nothing else, we can share those kind of things, and it'll make it a little bit fun because that's kind of what we'd like to do here as well. It's like we want to kind of keep a light attitude in the group, make it kind of lighthearted, make it fun. I think that certainly I've discovered in my exploration that a lot of the largest movements I've made was when I was having fun, when I was in a good space, whatever happened to be, those types of things. So we kind of want to do that with the group as well. A lot of times we can think because the information that we're sharing amongst ourselves here will have a very nice effect on us that, sometimes we share it in a more serious mood. And it may not be, or it may be, that individuals become a little bit more somber or whatever as they share things or whatever. That's fine too, but um, the overall idea of the space, of course, is that too. So, and I know as we've interacted with a lot of you guys, we've seen how you appreciate that as well. So, yeah, that works out really well. So, before we go any further, how about questions, guys? Any questions? Anything that I haven't touched on so far, or we haven't touched on so far? uh, questions you have about the movement of the group, what you might do to participate, anything at all. It doesn't really make any difference what it is. So I'll just leave it open for a moment. Anything? Any questions at all? Does
I
it?
would like to know how your journey started. I actually printed this question earlier, but um, because I'm I'm new. I have seen you for a while through different groups, but I really didn't know anything about you. And I was very, very surprised to hear that now you're a channeler. And I have learned so many things lately from different people who are channeling different entities. So I'm curious about Disa too. I know I didn't say that right. I have that Southern accent. So,
There you go.
so we're sharing accents today. Anyway, so I'm very curious about this.
So, if I'm not mistaken, Kathleen, is it Black Sheep that I know you through the English Seth group or other stuff?
Uh, Fans of the Seth material,
Sure.
maybe.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I sort of lost count with all of the different Seth
I know,
groups.
right? That could happen. So yeah, I let me see. So in a more tangible way, I guess, my exploration began probably 35 years ago. And in another lifetime, I guess maybe I'll put it like that. I was a chiropractor for about 12 years, and I started out traditional until I had some issues myself. And then I visited another chiropractor in town who was very alternative as far as chiropractors were concerned. And he used to do what's called muscle testing. You know, it's just colloquially known as muscle testing anyway. And he was pretty good at it. And of course, I was really interested. And my life was shifting and moving at the time. There were a lot of things that were happening in my life that were not the direction I thought my life was going to take. And of course, this is something that happens in lives as they make the movements that they're going to make. And sometimes, of course, it can be difficult sometimes not to label those things um, because sometimes they pull you in directions that ask you to pull more of who you are up and use than you thought maybe you needed to at the moment. Um, but anyway, so I became familiar with this and was utilizing it with individuals. And then a gentleman came through my door one day who apparently had been into his own spiritual exploration, and he introduced me to some work that had just been put out, I think at the time, called "Conversation of the God" by Neil Donald Walsh,
Yeah.
and so I had read some other sort of esoteric things that were a little bit more applicable to what I was doing as a chiropractor and an energy worker before that, but never anything that was quite like that. And so that was kind of the beginning. And then at a time a little beyond that, let me see. I got to think of me and time are not closely associated. I'll just warn all of you of that in the moment. Uh, Time works very different for me. And so if you ask me when things happen, a lot of times I don't have a strong sense of that. But anyway, um, Um, let's see. I was when I was still in practice. I was living with a good friend of mine named Mike. Mike did a little exploring himself, and my hometown, which I live in right now, Duluth, is a little like San Francisco in that it's built on a hill, and we have a road that runs along the top of this hill, probably about 24 miles long or something like that, and Duluth is at the most western tip of Lake Superior, which is the most western of the Great Lakes, those lakes that lie between the United States and Canada from about the central point of the United States to the east. And Lake Superior is the westernmost one, and Duluth is the westernmost city on that lake. And so that's where I live, and it's hilly. Um, and there's a road that stretches along those hills for about 24 miles. And at one point on that road, they have a very beautiful park with a like a 6-story stone tower that they built about a century ago or something like that. And it's got gardens around it, and the city employees that work with the gardens do a fantastic job. And so I used to drive that road frequently from my friend's house to my office when I was in practice. And for a 2-week period of time, Duluth is cut into the rock that Duluth sits on is supposedly, in terms of linear time, geologically very, very, very old. Um, and this road is cut into this rock. And for about a 2 week period of time, as I was driving to the office from my friend's house, I was feeling energy come off of the rock, similar to what you might feel if you stand next to an oven and you feel the heat. It wasn't heat, though, it was the energy of the rock. And I'd heard some things by then and had some mild experiences by then. So I'm thinking, oh, this is kind of interesting. And then one day, I was on that same stretch of road, but I had stopped. I was going to the park, and I had an impulse and an impression that instead pull over. And so I listened, and I did, and I was faced basically southwest, and it was, I think, early June or something like that, and there was this light breeze that was blowing in my face, and I just closed my eyes, and I was in deep appreciation of the moment. It was just so very nice. And my experience of myself changed in that moment. I became familiar with whatever you'd like to say, the template reality me, the blueprint reality me, the level of the soul me, whatever it was. I became aware of me as that, and then creating this me and all of what my environment around me was. So I knew myself creating the road, creating the rocks, creating the breeze, creating the grass, creating the trees, all that. I also knew myself as all those things, as the road, as the grass, as the trees. I knew myself as Chuck and all of that. And I could move my awareness around to all those various things or experience all of them at the same time. And one of the things after the fact that I found was very interesting is that it really just only felt like me. Really, the way that you feel right now as you sit there doing this with us is what it felt like. It felt no different. It just was a different experience of me, but it felt like me, which was very interesting to me because there was some organizations that I was part of back then, and there was a lot of talk about where those types of things happened, in what circumstances those types of things happened, and all the bells and whistles that are typically associated with that. There was none of that. It was just me, only it was a different experience of me. And so that kind of helped me as I moved into my exploration, in my understanding that that exploration really didn't have to happen in any particular way, shape, or form. And mine really happened like that frequently. It just showed up out of the blue a lot of times in many, many, many different ways. So anyway, so I started exploring all sorts of stuff. Oh, 1 week or 2 weeks after that, again, time. It was really close after that situation. I was in our public library in town, and I was looking for something, a book, and I didn't know what it was yet. And so I walked down this one row, and the color of the book stood out. And I walked over the book and I pulled the book out, and it was Seth Speaks by Jane Roberts. And I was unfamiliar with Seth up until that point. And so I sat down and I began to read the book. And what I realized is that this book was talking about the experience that I had just had, where I realized it was me creating my reality of my existence. And so, of course, that's how I became interested in Seth's material and Jane Roberts and Rob. And so, for me, channeling has always been the foundation of where the information in my life came from. Although I've explored lots of different things, many things. Um, Druidism, Aboriginal Dreamtime stuff, lucid dreaming, a little bit out of body stuff. I've become familiar with a variety of Hindu disciplines, probably Gaudiya Vaishnavism, stronger than others. Native American concepts and ideas, Celtic stuff, um, just so much, so many things. All the books that were written back then that people consider are classics now, I was familiar with all of those. Read this interesting book called The Urantia one time. It was huge, incredibly thick. So many things, so many different things. Course in Miracles, just tons of different stuff. Um, what was nice is that at the time, there was this little church in Duluth that used to be a spiritualist church. The pastor used to get up and give messages to people, right? Well, they changed it a little bit, but it was a hub for people who were explorers like us. And there were people there who had done things for decades. There was a a Native American medicine man that would show up there who was quite aware of things. There were people who were exploring Jain stuff. There were people who were doing Buddhism. There were people who were doing shamanism, people who were deeply into connecting with nature, all sorts of stuff. And so it was a great hub to be able to grow in. And so I was there every single Sunday for many years, 10, 11, 12, whatever it was. And after a while, I was leading groups and co-leading groups, and we were exploring sacred geometry, all sorts of things. We did so many different things. So I've got this huge variety of things that I've explored. But channeling to me has always been kind of what I have been connected to the strongest amidst all those other things. It seemed like that was always the foundation. Um, and so I've blogged back 6, 7, 8 years ago or something like that for in various places, and I began to notice differences in the words that were coming out of me as I would write, and strings of things that I would write that I didn't remember writing down. And I'm going, well, that's kind of interesting. And I knew enough about channeling then and automatic writing and stuff to know that that was probably what was going on with me. And I talked to Chris a little bit about it. He said, yeah, that's what's up. Um, and um, and so then I started doing an audio podcast maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And I noticed that as I would do the podcast, the same thing was going on. I was sharing information that was from a different energy stream, maybe I'll say, than what is typically true for me. And after doing that for a while, it's when I approached those friends of mine and said, hey, how did you guys feel if I intentionally channeled? And they said, yeah, sounds good. So that was like 3 years ago or whatever it's been, 3.5, I'm not sure. So yeah, and what's nice is that in my practice, I really learned to become strongly intuitive. I paid close attention to impulses, impressions, intuitions, those types of things all the time as I was working with people. And I found it was incredibly accurate. So I never questioned it. So that really helped on this journey as well, because I'm really open to the information that DeSatu shares with me. And it's really become quite the relationship. And of course, it would be because it's me and me, and that I'm getting information throughout the day. It doesn't really make any difference what the circumstances are. And the trick, like all of us at certain moments, is am I listening or not? Right. And if I am, then it's nice. And if I happen to be focused too strongly someplace else, yeah, I won't pick up on it. And then I'll have a different experience as a result. Not that I don't get to have my own experiences, of course, because of course I do. And so, this for Willow and I was a part of our idea for the group also is that each of us, especially individuals who are explorers, but really each of us, we have that connection with that us that's there. It's there all the time. And it just shows up in different ways for us. And so part of what we want to do here is to help all of us, and me included in this, to nurture that part of ourselves, to bring that part of ourselves more fully into our life. From my perspective, I can say now without reservation that I've learned to trust the information that flows from that part of me all the time. Doesn't make any difference what it is. We have a very unique relationship. Sometimes if we're going down a road that I'm not entirely pleased with, I will voice as much to my friend. I'll say, "Hey, seriously, is this necessary now?" and in those moments, typically they'll pull back and they'll just let me have the experience. And then it usually doesn't take too long, and I become aware of why I had the experience the way that I did then. And then they'll pop in and go, "Okay, so now what do you think?" And I'll go, "Yeah, okay, I understand now." So anyway, so it's a unique experience. I like it, and the thing is that you all have it. You all have it. There's no question. You all have it. All it is to nurture it in whatever way, and really, and this is why our desire for Willow and I is for you guys to bring the things that you do in your life and share it with the group here if you feel comfortable doing that, because everybody has a unique way of having that stuff show up in their life. It can be anything. It might be the art that you do, it might be the writing that you do, it might be the cooking that you do, it might be things that show up as you work out. You never know how information shows up. So but it's there, you're there, because that's what this time is about. I'm going to suggest, is about becoming more of you, about that coming to the forefront. And it may be in surprising ways, it may be in challenging ways. So, so anyway, Kath, there you go. A little about me. And it's been great. I've had the opportunity in the past year or so to become more involved in a couple of groups, and it's given me opportunity to meet a lot of the faces that I see here tonight. Which has been very great. I've had the opportunity to become familiar with most of the individuals here, and of course, have enjoyed that friendship and that familiarity a great deal. And have found you all, of course, to be wonderful people. It's that just seems to be what my circle of people is. They're all wonderful people. So if you guys have any doubts about yourself, you're wonderful people. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here.
Woohoo.
Yeah, right. Anyhow, so I can feel my buddy knocking on the door there. So we're going to do a little bit of channeling, but before that, I want to know: is there any clarification, any expansion on the stuff I just talked about? Anything else? Anything from anybody?
Yep. Question.
Yeah, Bill.
Is this going to be a regularly scheduled Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern event?
That is
So,
our intent. Yep,
okay.
is to make it that. There may be, and we'll let you guys know in advance, there may be times where we may be into something else that won't allow us to do that. We'll certainly, and we'll usually post it two places. We'll post it here in the messaging thread, and we'll also post it on the Embracing Boundlessness group page as well. That there will be a particular Saturday that we may not be able to do that. We are headed out to Willow's stomping grounds for Christmas for about 10 days from the 18th through the 29th, and that's California. And so it's unlikely that when we're there, it will happen there. The place that they live in, that location, is in the foothills in the mountains. There's not a lot of signal there, so it's unlikely that it will happen there. But other than that, yeah, Bill, that is our intention, is to do this
Okay.
every Saturday night at this time.
Okay. And when you pause for a message from your sponsor, who's the sponsor?
Oh,
Never mind. I'm kidding. I'm sorry.
yes.
It's like a Saturday night show. Okay. Without any, if there is a sponsor, great. If not, we can deal with that too.
No, there
Thank
are no sponsors here besides us.
you.
All of
Okay.
us. Yeah, yeah. No, no, it's just us doing this. Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, a little earlier, we would love you guys to participate and share, if you have the opportunity to. Certainly, Desatu's got plenty of information. Whatever Saturdays, or Willow, whatever Saturdays we find being unfilled by one of you guys, there'll be information that we can share. And it'll always be along this theme. It'll always be about our movement into boundlessness, our movement into more of who we are. It will always be, in some way, shape, or form, that theme. And again, it doesn't have to be grand strokes, or anything like that, but, just that direction. So, yeah. Anything else?
Chuck,
Okay, so,
if nobody else is gonna say anything, I just want to say that, and I've posted about this too many times for too many years because I've been online with Seth readers since 19, 1995. I had an unusual experience with the book Seth Speaks, and I just mention it because you mentioned it, and that's when I realized, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be here. I didn't hadn't realized that. I wasn't sure until you mentioned that. Basically, very short version. First time I ever meditated, I saw in quotes the cover of the purple paperback edition, then in print, blew my mind. And I stopped and hiked into. I was in Cambridge at the time, Harvard Square, and there was the book in a bookstore. I said, wow, I guess I have to read this. That's all. Sorry to now. Please proceed. I just had to mention that though.
And that's actually fantastic. That's exactly the kind of stuff that we're, talking about. Where, and isn't it interesting how in the moment you knew that your experience and me mentioning my experience meant something to you, you know? And so these are the types of things that, I've learned to pay closer attention to. I used to say that I'm kind of broadening my radar. They got that radar thing on a boat that goes around and it sees all little blips and stuff. And so, I used to think in those terms, of paying more attention to the things that are showing up on my radar, which is becomes easier when you start to play around with the stuff that I do with that, more expansive aspect of myself, because it's about that, you know. Um, so before I I have to say to show up a little bit, um, because you may be familiar with the various sources of channeled information, you'll find mine to be a little bit different than, let's say, you would see the more classical individuals do anyway. A lot of individuals have moved a little closer to this. I know that certainly Serge moved this direction. Um, Abraham is beginning to. I know that Bashar is beginning to. Things like that, where it's the mix of the individual and the rest of who and what they are is much more close than what was the case in the 60s and the 70s, especially where it seemed to be much more distant. And really that's because the ideas were that, right? You were connecting with something that was way, way, way out there, when of course that's not the truth of the matter at all. It's you. It's right there. And so, yeah, it's a little bit more like that. So anyway, I'll take a few moments, and I have no idea how long this is going to be. And then following, and actually, what I'll do is there'll be a pause after whatever to say to will share, and at that point, if you guys on your screen, if you want to open the chat up, if you have any questions on what's been said, anything you'd like expanded on, anything like that, you can just type your name in that you have a question, and then Willow will see who's in the queue, and yeah, and you can just ask your question. It doesn't really make any difference what it is. Okay, so you want to give me a little moment or two here. So we would greet all of you here today and express our appreciation for your gathering with us tonight, in that this experience, your participation, adds greatly to our experience as well. So we thank you for that. So as you may imagine, due to the information that Chuck shared with you a short time ago about the closeness that has occurred between those parts of all of you that you can feel sometimes are so very distant from you, but in fact are so very close, that being ourselves, and Chuck's experience. And because there has been a drawing together of our awareness, or shall we say Chuck's awareness of our situation, we are, of course, familiar with the explorations that that aspect of ourselves is making, including this group now. So the words that were chosen, of course, were chosen intentionally. When you embrace something, you draw it closely to yourself. To embrace something means that you invite it in as part of your energy. You invite it in as part of yourself. And so this idea of embracing boundlessness speaks of that movement, speaks of an action of embracing in an increasingly more tangible way the you that you are, the you that understands itself as boundless, as without borders, as infinite, whatever word you would like to use. You've become familiar with many individuals who shared this information with you. And over the months and over the years that you've expressed and exposed yourself to that information, it has had an effect on you. It's helped you to have experiences in your life that bring to you some understanding of the changes that are going on, not only in your culture and on your planet, but within you, and really within you, most importantly. Because, of course, this is your exploration of your reality. Without you exploring this particular physical dimension, you would not be having this experience. As part of this experience is your shift, is this transition, is your becoming aware of who you actually are in the midst of believing that what you were was a human being. And as all of you have been explorers, you've seen how this type of information has gone from just a few yogis or a few shaman back in the middle of the 1900s into many, many, many individuals that now share information with you, many sources, many of those being you. How this information shows up to you in a variety of ways. You're beginning to understand and to experience that you no longer need to rely on exterior sources to get your information, because it's beginning to show up in your lives, and it may have for some of you for some time now. Boundlessness, an innate quality of yourself. And again, in this time period, an idea to keep at the forefront of your mind. Now, one of the things that we spoke of recently was the idea that it is really much easier to shift your approach to reality than a lot of individuals believe that it is. It can be as simple as using a word in the course of your day. Imagine, if you would, if when somebody asked you how your day was going, you said, fabulous, with intent, or wonderful, or fantastic. And you may even make a little excuse for it. They may look at you a little quizzically when you do that. You may go, I heard from somebody else a little while ago that making that kind of a statement may have an effect on your day, so I'm going to give it a shot. You'll probably get a chuckle out of them or something like that, because there will be a part of them that will realize that, yes, in fact, this does provide a little different feel to what it is that's going on in this moment. So this idea of boundlessness, this idea of who you actually are, integrated with the idea of within this particular experience, within your physical dimension, as you're probably all familiar, you set out to explore this configuration of consciousness from this personality, the one that you see yourself to be in this moment, with an intent, a way that you wanted to explore it. Now, that's not a narrow way, it's a very broad way, and there's many ways you can do that. Part of that, of course, was going to be the transition that you are now in, that you're now moving much more deeply into than what you were doing in the previous century, which is when you began this shift of yours. If you look around at your world, there are many, many, many things in your world that are now possibly not totally embraced, but certainly able to be expressed without people having the strong responses to them that they would have, let's say, 40, 50, 60 years ago. Much has changed in your planet. There's a lot of flexibility that's going on in your planet. Now, are there examples where that's not happening? There is. If what you're doing here, and you are, is becoming increasingly familiar with who and what you are as the wider you, which is what you're doing, that means a familiarity with all that you contain. If you think in terms of what's been termed by some all that is, which is everything in creation, then that expression of consciousness contains everything. All of what, from this perspective, you may call good things or pleasant things, and all from this perspective that you may call bad things, unpleasant things, ugly things, whatever you want to say. It's all there. As you move to a deeper understanding and experience of yourself, you will become aware that those things reside within your energy as well, because you express yourself in many, many ways, even in this dimension. That part of you understands, of course, that no harm can ever come to any participant in any of that expression, because, of course, you are what you are, which is consciousness. There is no way to harm yourself in that regard. You get to play in the playground that you create freely and do anything that you want to. The trick is, where is it that you will place your attention? What experience do you choose to have from this perspective of that larger you, shall we say? This is part of embracing your boundlessness also, to understand that there is one thing that is inalienable to you that you have in each moment, even though many times you're having a difficulty seeing that. And that is choice. You will always, and you do always, have the opportunity to choose. Now, you may find yourself choosing to stay in a situation that is challenging to you. At those moments, if you can maybe be able to become aware of why it is that you've done that. But also, you can choose many, many, many other things. In this time period of yours, in this transition period of yours, in this shifting period of yours, the changes that occur within you will be changes that we will suggest will be surprising to you. At this point, typically, you are only able to imagine things that make some sense from your present experience. That, in a way, hinders, we'll use that word in a moment, your ability to see how your expansion will actually go. We can suggest to you that as you move into it, as you have those changes happen to you, and they can be many, many changes, many ideas that you're holding on to now will be ideas that you will be able to choose from if you would like to. But you'll see many changes in your life. You'll see many changes in you. One of the things that you can do, if you would like to, is to begin to move to a place where you embrace difference in your life, where you embrace changes that happen in your life, regardless of what they are, regardless of whether you know why that change or that difference came into your life or not. Because many times, as you move forward into who you're becoming, you may not understand the changes that are happening for you. You may not understand the shifts in who you become. Will you become more familiar with them? Yes. But in the moment, you may not understand what it is that's going on with you. If you're in practice with accepting differences into your life, accepting change into your life, even if it's a difficult situation, and we're not saying that those situations sometimes may not play double duty, where it's there for that reason for you, as well as to figure out perhaps some ways that you're inhibiting yourself. So this idea of becoming who and what you are, it's the journey, it's the exploration that you're all on. This concept of moving into a boundless expression of who you are. When you tie this transition period of yours up, this shifting period of yours up, your planet, your expression will have become something much different than what it is right now. Much different than what it is right now. You will not recognize it. You will not recognize yourself. Actually, you will, but you wouldn't from this perspective. Some of the things that you will let go of is the idea of the movement of time and how you believe time moves in a particular way with particular results. We'll talk a little bit more specifically in this moment. Age. You believe in the idea of age for everything, for streets, for trees, for buildings, for the planet, for yourself. You've all explored long enough to understand that your experience is a collection of moments. Those moments do not flow in a linear way at all. You choose each moment in your exploration. Now, you will choose them within the themes of the ideas that you're using. And as you loosen those ideas up, as you allow yourselves to use different beliefs in the belief systems that you utilize in this dimension, you can begin to have different experiences. The idea of age is one of the things that you will become familiar. You have configured in a particular way to have a particular type of an effect. As with many things in your shifting period, you will begin to choose more intentionally the types of effects that you would like to see in your existence. This will be one of them. You will be able to choose what you want to do with your physical form. It will not be unheard of for individuals to spend a number of hundreds of years exploring your planet now instead of the time periods that you've given yourself. Because, of course, so much will have changed. There will be so many exciting things for you to explore. You will stay in your exploration here because it will be very, very fulfilling for you, which is what you look for as consciousness, explorations that are fulfilling for you, which of course they all are. There is no exploration that is not fulfilling for you. But from the perspective that you've just gone through, if you look back, even in your 1900s, as opposed to the centuries before that, a great deal occurred in your 1900s. There was a great deal of exploration. There was a great deal of inventions. There were all sorts of things that individuals did that in the ways that they expressed themselves that they never did in the centuries before that. But that was just the beginning for all of you, to set the stage a little bit on opening your doors to the idea of exploration for each individual, because this is what you're doing with yourself. And so gatherings like this, which are happening all around your planet, aid all of you in this endeavor to connect with individuals who are in the midst of their journey and exploration in an aware way, to whatever degree that is, because all of you are in the midst of this change. Many of you are unaware yet that you're in the midst of this change. Those of you who are here have an awareness of that change to whatever degree that you do. And we will suggest to you that as you continue to find yourself in this exploration, as you continue to find yourself with groups of whatever nature feels right for you to connect to at that particular time and space, it will have an increasing effect on your journey and your exploration. Because you will not be drawn to something that more expansive aspect of you hasn't nudged you towards, regardless of what it is. Sometimes it's to work with your challenges. Sometimes it's to share the knowledge and the wisdom that you have. Sometimes it's just to have a good time there. You will know when you're there. So that will be what we will share tonight. And as was mentioned earlier, if there are expansions of what we shared that you would like, if there are questions, if there's anything else that you would like, we will take some time and a little opportunity to be able to do that with all of you right now. In that, we'll draw our part of this to a close. We'll return our good friend to you. And we look forward to whatever type of a future interaction we may have with all of you. Thank you very much. So, guys, as you can imagine, that's one of the ways that my journey of boundlessness is showing up in my life, is that stuff. And even though that group of individuals that I've known for like 20 years now, we knew each other really well. We've explored a lot of things together. And even though I knew those guys like that, it was a little bit of a tentative step for me to say, hey, how would you guys feel if I could channel for you, right? And then the next step in that was really Lewis's group, the high vibe group. And I showed up with those guys about a year ago, and it was the same thing, a whole new group of individuals that I didn't know. But then it became another group, and then it became another group, and then it became another group. And as I got to know that part of myself, my comfort level just increased. And now it's like not a problem. So the goal here is not necessarily for me to do this all the time. The thing is that, again, I know that with all of you here and anybody else who happens to show up in the group, we have a diverse and rich background of information, within all of you guys. And it would be great to have you guys share whatever it might be that, again, has stimulated something for you, some movement for you, some awareness for you, a different way of looking at your life, a different way of approaching your life, whatever it might happen to be, even if it's something that more than likely other people have some familiarity with. It really doesn't make any difference, because all of us have to have unique experience with that. Like, my experience with Seth's material was not the same as anybody else who's here, and the experience they had with Seth's stuff. It can't be, because my personality is different. It had to be unique. And so a lot of times in expressing that uniqueness, it's helpful too, because it gives us, different ways to look at things. Um, and I'm going to pause for a moment here, and I don't want to put them too much on the spot, but I just want to see if there's anything that Willow wants to add to what I've been prattling on about for the last few moments here.
Well, first, before I say anything, how can everyone hear me? Like, does anyone hear the interference of the microphone coming from over there? Just before I go further, if
Sound
someone
good
could let me
now.
know if it sounds okay.
Good.
Okay.
It's good. Okay, great. Thank you. Um, so, I guess maybe I could give a little bit of an introduction as uh, as the collaborator partner of Chuck in the creation of this group, and see if just to give a bit of background on maybe my journey and sort of what I intend to co-create with Chuck as we do this fun little project. So for those who don't know me, my name is Willow, and I'm 22, and I've been in my exploration of consciousness, the study of consciousness, and interested in self-growth and pondering revelations from self-inquiry since I was in my early teens when I really started getting into this. But really, my whole life, I've been aware of that overarching expression of myself that's tuned into more than just my human focus. And I've interacted with that part of myself through dream time, through my artistic expressions, and through connection with nature. And it's just sort of been this I don't know, like an intuitive knowing that there is more to me than just human Willow. And that was a great comfort growing up with whatever challenges I encountered, and just trying to become familiar with the physical world. It's nice to be aware of that part of you that knows that the physical world isn't necessarily a scary or unsafe place. There's always that comfort coming in. Anyway, so currently I'm really interested in interpreting dreams, understanding that experience and helping others do the same. I thought that would be something really interesting to explore with everyone here attending the group at some point. There might be a talk all about dream time, all about the basically your experiences with that and any insights that have come to you in a dream that have been very impactful for understanding physical reality here, and the symbolism that everything has, because really this is just a reflection of something much bigger. So yeah, that might be interesting to explore as we go along. And also learning how to engage with waking life in a dreamlike way, because really this is just it kind of is like a dream. It's fun to play with it in that way, where things don't have to be quite so solid or intense. There could be a malleability, a flexibility to your life and to all of your interactions. Add a little bit of a dreamlike whimsy to them, so that there's less intensity, sort of within all of your experiences. Let's see. I have some notes here just so I don't lose my train of thought. Thank you, everyone, for being here. But anyway, so yeah, that's sort of an introduction there. There's a lot more that I'm sure will unfold later. Yeah, I'm just gonna pause there for a moment.
Well, thank you very much for that. I appreciate that immensely. From my experience with Willow, we've gotten to know each other really well over the last probably 4 months. Now, let's see. Yeah, approximately moving into 5. So those of us who are most individuals in their 30s, in their 40s and beyond have had an experience where, and I don't remember a lot of my early childhood, but what we become familiar with is that we're quite aware of that deeper us when we're very young, and little by little, that narrows down, and then we live this life. If you were hanging out in the 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever, as a teenager, whatever, we live this life that's a little more constrained, and then someplace in there we become familiar with the stuff that we're exploring now, and we begin to widen back out to whatever degree we find ourselves now. What I've come to understand about Willow's journey is it wasn't so much like that. There was a little bit of narrowing that occurred, and then they widened back out, and they have, it's taken me a few years to become familiar with this interaction with this part of myself I call the Setu. And Willow's almost always had that, and pays attention to it. And they kind of walk with a foot in each world, in the dream world and in this world, and it's continuous for them. And so they shift back and forth all the time. They've done some very interesting stuff when we've been together, and shared some things with me as we've been in various places that I'm going, really, well, that's quite cool. So she tends to downplay that a lot, but as you get to know her, and as she expresses some of her experiences to her, you'll probably find that there's information there that will open doors for you. In all the time that I've explored, I've certainly found that in myself. So it's kind of nice and actually, with other individuals here as well. And so one of the things that I've experienced is that, again, my technical exploration, if I can say it that way, has been about 35 years. But what I find continually is that information can show up for me that opens a door, that gives me an aha, that helps me look at things differently anytime. It doesn't matter where or from who. I've had some interesting experiences. So I work in an environment full of clients. And typically there can be, anywhere from maybe a half a dozen to as many as like in the mid 30s there at one time. And I've gotten to know some of these clients well. And there will be instances where I'll walk past them and I feel that energy and I look at them, and who's in attendance now is not them. There's someone else in attendance, the deeper part of them, some aspect of them, and they will say something to me that means something to me in the moment. And then that shifts, and it's the them that I've known for years again, and they have no idea that they've just done that. So there's all sorts of little things like that happen in life. Information shows up in a whole variety of ways, in ways that seem to be much more mundane. Whether it's a truck that's passing by with something written on the side of it that means something to you in that moment, something you hear in a conversation someplace, whatever it might happen to be. There's so many ways. As we were tossing around the idea of this group, one of the things that we wanted to, as I mentioned before, try to do with the group is to make it a little bit lighter, a little more lighthearted. Really, I can tell you from my own exploration and from becoming familiar with individuals who've done this and made really good headway for a long, long time, the easier you can be on yourself about all the things that happen in this exploration, the less that you can hold yourself to task, if I can put it like that, the less strongly expectant you can be of yourself, the better off you're going to find this journey. The easier you're going to find this journey, the easier you're going to find your life. No one holds the expectations about your life as stringently as you do about your own. And so if you can relax about what you demand of yourself in your own life, you'll find that that really serves you a lot. If you just give yourself some room to explore your life a little bit, and to pay attention, because as you pay attention around you and within you, because of course, as you're all well aware, they're both happening at the same time simultaneously. If you can learn to split your awareness, to pay attention to what's going on inside and then to pay attention to what's going outside, you'll begin to see how they're occurring together all the time. And so the thing is that in that then you'll know, and you can play with this, of course, how as you change what's going on within you, as you choose to look at things differently, as you choose to approach things differently, your exterior life begins to reflect that for you. And you'll learn to trust it more and more and more. You'll learn to understand that the individuals around you who share information with you, who make demands of you, who do whatever it might happen to be, are really doing that because in some way, shape, or form, you're carrying around ideas within yourself yet that allow those types of things to happen for you in your life. And as you recognize those and as you move beyond those and all the ways that you guys probably know how to move beyond those, and we can, of course, make some suggestions, you leave those things behind. And sometimes the strangest things will make you uncomfortable. I remember when, and this was 3 years ago or something like that, when all of a sudden everybody in my life was nice to me all the time. And I had no idea what to do with that. It was uncomfortable as heck to have everybody be pleasant with me always, always. Now, that didn't mean that they might not have challenges in a moment when I was interacting with them. But once they start to interact with me, that mellowed. But it was really strange. It took me like, I don't know, 3-4 months or something like that to get used to that kind of an experience. But, you know, it really kind of is a reflection of the way that I see other individuals, even other individuals who are maybe not the nicest individuals. I know that their exploration is still a valid exploration. I may not understand all of why they're doing what they're doing, but I understand it's valid for them. I also understand that I and others don't necessarily need to be involved in it in the way that people believe that they do. And what's nice for me is that, you know, because of a number of experiences that I've had, that's not guesswork for me any longer. You know, I can say that. And I know that I have no more ability than anybody else on this planet. I have no more ability than anybody else who's sitting here, certainly. And it really just takes, I believe, playing with your reality, you know, with trusting in yourself, with trusting information that shows up for you, and then acting on that information. It doesn't have to be huge strokes at first, just a little bit. And you start to see those changes because you did, you know, and then because you do that, that kind of reinforces your trust in being able to do that. And so then you can begin to make movements in your life. So anyway, that will be on my soapbox.
Liz has a question. She messaged saying that she has something she'd like to ask you. So if you could unmute and ask your question, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely.
You,
And go ahead.
I don't know if the question is for Chuck or for Lisette too. I think we were talking about symbols earlier, so I can relate to my experience as well. But I want to know the symbols or the sign that we see when something like, I don't know, either universe or delivered to us or whatever that is. But I just want to know, like, how do we know whether it's a message for us or it's just something that reflects our train of thoughts that's going on at the moment? Can we differentiate that?
Well, I think that, first of all, most individuals, not everybody, but you can train yourself to pay attention to like a feeling state that shows up when it's something that means something to you. And so in that, if your state of mind at the moment is relatively neutral, or we'll even say leans into a pleasant state of mind, it doesn't mean it might not still be a message to you, but maybe not in the way that you're asking that question. But if there's been something that you have been questioning, that you have been challenged by, that has been troubling you, and you have information show up, and again, because of the smile that you gave a short time ago, there will be a feeling that'll show up with it as well, and you'll learn to recognize that, and you'll know that it's something that's meant for you in that time and space. And it may even be something that in the moment doesn't necessarily appear to you in that moment to totally be helpful. But you can tell because of the feeling state that's there that it's associated with your movement. That takes you being a little more discerning. But we believe that you can do that. We know that in your being able to feel the things that you're already feeling, that if you can trust that, you can apply it to the information that's coming to you, that it's that you can do that in your life. You can learn to utilize even those time periods where it doesn't necessarily seem like that might be something that moves you, because it's not always that when you get information or help from whoever it is, that it'll be the last bit of help you get and it will resolve the whole of the issue for you. There may be a string of those things that you'll have to follow. Certainly, almost always on the way in that string, you learn something also, which is also valuable. So that would be our suggestion.
Another question. Can non-physical being tap on our shoulder, like physically?
One more time with what was on the shoulder.
Like tap on our shoulder, like touch or focus. The non-physical being.
Say that one more
Oh,
time, Liz.
sorry. Yep. Can non-physical being or entities or our spiritual guide kind of like tap, like literally tap on our shoulder or tap on our shoulder?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. They. I'll express to you some physical things I've had happening. I think that Willow and I were in a large park, walking around. I can't remember in the moment what it was we were discussing, and it felt like I had my cell phone in my back pocket. And you know what it feels like when the phone vibrates, when you have it on vibrate? It felt, because it was strong, it felt like that's what was going on. But my phone was not back there. There was nothing back there. But I just felt this. And in fact, on that walk, that was one of three physical things that had happened with me that day that were exactly what you're talking about. So yes, yeah, you can have all sorts of stuff like that go on. And it sounds like Lori's shaking her head. Yes, she's probably had some of those experiences too. So again, these types of things also, when I'm talking about, things that you may be able to bring, and certainly if nothing else on this third week that, we may do, where you've had things happen that it's definitely a noticeable shift in regular reality, shall we say. Yeah, but yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. So guys, this is kind of going to be the format moving forward, and again, next Saturday, Willow will share her experiences with light codes, and you're going to find it fascinating. I thought it was pretty cool, and I only know a part of it. It was pretty neat. And then again, that third week, again, we're thinking about the whatever you call it, Mandela effects, the glitch in the matrix stuff. Experiences that have happened in your life that you're going to go, that has changed from 3 seconds ago, or maybe a half a day ago, or maybe a week ago, whatever. But it's a noticeable change, and it's something that had changed for you, and it may not have changed for anybody else around you, only for you. So those types of things, I think it would be fun for us to bring those to the third week and to share those with everybody, because I got a feeling we've got a treasure trove of those things to share. I think it'll be a lot of fun. Anyway, so yeah, this is kind of the format. Um, and again, if any of you channel, if any of you do anything like that, if you do automatic writing, and you do it at home and you'd like to share it here, we would be happy to have that happen, regardless of what it is. Again, the thing is that it's not a question of whether we're expanding or not. We all are. And so what I think is nice is for us to share the unique ways that we're doing it, because there's validity in all of what each of us does. I know that DeSatu, Chuck Sr., on occasion will share some information. And yeah, we'll see exactly how that works, how I fold that into this. Because what I don't want it to become is the dominant theme. I don't want it to become this is just me channeling. I'd like it to be about us sharing information. Now, again, if there's a Saturday where no one's really up for anything, yeah, that'll happen, or maybe Willow will have something to share because they're becoming increasingly proliferative with writing and a whole variety of things too. So we never know what's going to happen in that regard. Um, and I know too, I don't want to put him on the spot, but I know that Luis is sharing information in other venues that I think he thinks he probably doesn't actually think it's just him. I'm sure he's aware that it's more than just him. But so yeah, I'm just
So, Chuck, I had an experience last weekend. For
go ahead.
3 days, I was actually hosting a Zoom group with approximately 200 plus people. And during that experience, and we were connected to an event that was happening in Los Angeles. So we were the online part of that event. In Los Angeles, there was a group of more or less 250 people. And the experience was that I was sort of guiding the interactions of people, not so much during the events, but as the sessions completed. I was guiding them, and I answered their questions. I heard their comments, and all I can tell you is that I went into automatic mode. And I knew that there was something coming through me the whole time. And yet I was completely aware. Sparkling, Sparkling was there and experienced some of it. Okay. So the result of that, I went from one session to the other one to the other one, and I was just like, I guess that's the norm now. And so it's very, very phenomenal change for me. I had that before, but it was kind of more an on and off kind of thing. But I kept myself in that for nearly, well, the 3 days of the event. Every time we had the question and answer and comment section, I would just go straight into it.
That's
So,
very cool.
and,
So one of
and
the things that
yes,
I've come to realize too is that even though we've all, from that larger perspective, chosen this shift to participate in it, that more expansive us is not going to drag us kicking and screaming into the experience. It's going to allow us to choose in all the various things that are offered, to be able to do that. And one of the things that I found is that as I participate more and more and more with those types of energies, more and more starts to happen. So your experience is not surprising to me, because, I see you participating in more and more things all the time. And so you're surrounded with those energies of yourself then. Not that they're not always there anyway, but now you're, in a sense, aware of them much more. And so they start to play a larger part in your life, in your everyday life, I guess we'll call it. So yeah, I like that. That's really cool.
yeah, I'm a lot more aware that uh, my higher self is also in contact with higher selves of others, basically. And that's becoming stronger and stronger and stronger.
Yeah. I'll share just one more thing um, in that there was a group that I was with, actually, that Luis was a part of. And we were doing a gathering where we had 8 or 9 individuals who channeled that were answering questions. And I did something there where I used a meditative state that I've used on occasion when I channel. And my intent was to connect with the higher self, we'll just call it that, of each of the individuals who are channeling. And that's the connection I was looking for. And in fact, that's the connection that I got. I I was able to become familiar or hear, shall we say, some of what the individual was sharing, but it was always from their larger self. That's the perspective that I was aware of at that immediate time, and I was aware only of a little of the other. Um, and so, yeah, it's the only time I've ever done that. and it was a really cool experience. I enjoyed it a lot. It gave me a lot of insight on each individual that was channeling too, which was kind of cool. So yeah, it was. But again, it was surprising. It's like it's not like I was going to say, yeah, that's the experience I know I can have. I wasn't sure. It's kind of what I was drawn to explore in that way. And then once I had the experience, then you have an understanding about what it was that inspired you to move in that direction. So yeah.
I'd like to add something simple. Thank you, Chuck, for all you do. And tonight, when the set two came in, I felt its presence more vivid, more here in the room that I have ever felt it before. The tone of your voice carried fully the frequency, and I got into it, so to speak, basically, more so than ever. And of course, we're going to see you on Sunday. So that's
Yes,
going to be very
indeed.
interesting.
Yes, as I said, there's a variety of groups that I interact with, and Sunday will be the next time. So yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Chuck.
Yeah, yeah. So guys, again, man, I've been hogging the audio here all night long, and so any of you guys have something that you would like to say, as we kind of draw the group to a close tonight, please feel free, share anything you want to share. Other than that, go ahead, Bill.
This is, I don't know if this is direct, not closely related or not, but this morning I was having this great dream. I was in an old car. It was a 61 Plymouth, but it had an internet screen on it. And I was sitting in the passenger seat in the dream and tuning in on the internet screen. And this woman gets in the car in the driver's seat and takes off with me in the car. And we went to, I think it was a train station or something. And she got off and we had a little bit of talking and so on. As I woke up, her name appeared to me. This sometimes happens from dreams and also meditation. And it was somebody named Nancy Holmes. And I thought, I don't know anyone of that name. And I looked her up, and she was a reporter and photographer who died in 2007. And she was pretty neat, but somewhat aggressive, I have to say. So if anyone encounters someone like that, I don't know. Does anyone else ever encounter people like that who sort of wander into their dreams, like who actually exist in the historical record, even though you've never heard of them before? Because that's what happened. And
Yes, that's me too.
okay. So Nancy Holmes, I introduce you to her. She's dead, but that doesn't stop her from showing up in dreams. She's quite beautiful and I would say somewhat aggressive woman. She does what she wants to do. Apparently, I read her obituary and stuff about her. She was well known. She hobnobbed with she was a photographer for Look magazine, so she hung out with people like Liz Taylor and Richard Burton and so on. The jet setters, and I'd never heard of her, but there she was in the dream, and that's all. And I just say to everyone, may you have interesting dreams tonight.
Thank you. That's pretty cool.
And good night.
Good night, Bill. So guys, if there's nothing else, we'll just a reminder again. I'll either or Will or I will either post the link we'll post it in two places. We'll post it in the messenger thread for the group, and we'll post it on the page of the group, either early in the day on Saturday, or if there's something else that changes that flow a little bit, Friday sometime. So it'll come either the day before or early the day of. So you'll have the link there. It'll work like it did with this one. And yeah, next time Willow will be up to bat, shall we say, and share what they have to share with all you guys. And in the meantime, again, if you guys, if you want to reach out, if there's ideas you have about things that you'd like to share with the group, if there's things that you would like explored that maybe is not necessarily something that you would like to explore, you can do that too. You can put that there. Again, what's nice about us in this stage is that we don't have firm boundaries around us at all. It's quite a malleable expression, and all of you are part of what that expression will be. Yeah, Willow and I have an intent, an idea, behind the group, but it's about growth, right? And so that's a very open thing. So yeah, so you got to experience a little bit of it tonight, a little of the feel of it tonight, a little of the flavor of it tonight. And feel free, actually, because, we certainly trust your guys' judgment in that regard to invite individuals if you think there's somebody else out there that you think would enjoy being with us here. And even if they're not adding things, if they're just listening, that's all cool too. It doesn't really make any difference. So yeah, feel free to do that if you'd like. That's all good. So anything anybody would like to add, or any questions at the end? Anything at all? No. Okay, guys. Well, it's been great hanging out with you guys. I will. I'll do two things. Well, I'll definitely isolate the channel portion of it. I have a software program I can use to do that, and I'll post that on this thread so you can access it. It'll pop up as an icon, of course, in your phone on the Messenger thread. I'll probably post it on the page too for the group, as well as more than likely the recording, probably the raw recording for the entirety of what we did here from Zoom. So you can expect that in a couple of days, I would imagine. So again, guys, it was great.
Thank you very much.
To share everybody's energy.
Good night.
Yeah,
Good night.
yeah. Have a great night.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.